have found that I think men are more likely to have bizarrely unrealistic expectations. I have so many girlfriends who are highly accomplished, highly educated, great people, and just wonderful women, and the dating pool is absolutely brutal for
What are
them.
these men looking for?
It is entirely unclear to me that it's like, why are their men not jumping to want to date them? So,
Well, Alicia, those are not bizarre and unrealistic expectations, because reality is that ultimately men want to build a family, okay? And most men don't want to be with an accomplished and educated woman because those women are entitled, demanding, and a pain to deal with. Even different studies would tell you that that's the case. So most of your accomplished and educated friends are very likely to end up with a cat instead of a family, just like Whoopi.
All right, so there's a new study, April 4th, 2024, or I should say it's relatively new. And it was covered last night by Mr. Fantastic, who was doing a show about this. And the story you probably didn't hear about because I don't know too many people who read the Harvard Gazette. But the story was how dating sites automate racism, right? Sociologist's new book finds algorithms that suggest partners often reflect stereotypes and biases. Now, first of all, before you even go into this, people want what they want. It's not racism when you're using dating sites. It's more discrimination. So if I get on a date, first of all, I've never used these dating apps and I never would. That's number one. I wanna put that out there as a caveat. There's a lot of these people who use these things, Tinder, Bumble. I ain't trying to find nobody like that. That's the bottom line. It's straight discrimination. You're clicking boxes and you're specifically saying what you're interested in. And when they show you what there is to choose from, you're either swiping left or swiping right. A lot of those sites have already been exposed because some of those sites have fake people, like they have AI generated fake people. Some of them have fake profiles and they use those to keep people engaged in order to keep them, because you got to understand, this is a business. People are paying money to use this stuff, and they have to make it look like you're getting somewhere. Otherwise, most people are just going to quit. So, bottom line is, I don't trust any of these apps. That's number one. Number two, I wouldn't use any of them anyway. But the bottom line is, these things, nowadays, especially with artificial intelligence, you have no idea what's real and what's not. I've seen them generate I've seen them generate entire cityscapes with people in it that looks real, and all of it's artificial intelligence, and you just can't tell. So therefore, asking somebody to show you a video of themselves, that doesn't work anymore. Asking somebody to have a FaceTime conversation with you used to be a good way of telling whether or not a person was authentic. But you know what? That's not even a good way anymore, specifically because of this AI generation. You have a lot of spoofing. You really can't trust a lot of this stuff. Now, that's not to say that all of these apps are fake. It's just that there's enough of them where I'm basically like, nah, that's okay. I would never bother with any of this stuff. So, April Williams is this is a picture right here. A Harvard staff photographer made this picture of Stephanie Michelle. I see a bunch of names, but I'm not exactly sure who that is. So anyway, April Williams opened a Tinder account. Now, by the way, let's just take a look right here at April Williams, okay? So, let's just take a nice look at April Williams. This is April Williams, right? I'm guessing that's all her hair. I guess it's real. She's definitely a BBW. I just want you to think, what would Kevin Samuel say? I think he'd start out by saying, okay, what's your height, weight, and dress size, right? Now, when you get on any of these dating apps, the first thing they're going to ask you is your personal statistics. They're going to, especially if you're a man, they're going to ask you your height. They're going to ask you your weight. They're going to ask you, do you have children or not? They're going to ask you, do you have, what's your income? They're going to ask you all types of stuff that's going to make it so that women can narrow down whether they want you or not, right? Now, as far as I'm concerned, asking your income, especially if you're a man, asking the person's income. Now, there's some people going to say, if they have that option, they're going to click a box. They're going to say, I prefer not to say. But there's a couple of things that people are either going to lie about or that you really can't ask people because they're definitely going to lie if they can, or they're not going to want to say. And based on those couple of things, it's going to make it so that you're filtered out almost instantaneously. Height is one of the things that's going to get you filtered out instantaneously. Like I myself, I'm 6'6". So because of that, like I'm in the ivory tower basically when it comes to height. They say that when they talk about this racism, it's like, oh yeah, don't worry about white supremacy. You need to worry about height supremacy. Because if you're tall, like if you're tall but you're not freakishly tall, like if you like between 6 and I'll say 6, let's say 6'3", 6'4", you're definitely highly, highly sought after. But you got to be at least 6. As long as you hit that 6, you're okay. Now, freakishly tall, you're talking about people like 7 feet tall or taller. But, and especially when it comes to a woman, like if you're a woman, freakishly tall is basically any woman who's like taller than like 6'4". Once you pass like 6'4", it's like you drop off immediately because most of the guys are looking for women who are below 6. Most of the women are looking for dudes who are above 6 or above. So first of all, your height is going to get you filtered immediately. The next thing that's most likely going to get you filtered immediately is your income. So if I put on my thing, I make over $100,000 a year, or I make over $200,000 a year, chances are, just by being over $100,000 a year, I'm gonna be fine. That's not going to get me filtered out immediately. Now, there are some of these women with these really, really wild demands. Like, oh, yeah, he got to make $300,000. Like, I'll be perfectly honest. I don't make $250,000 a year. But what is it? These people are asking for like 300 and 400 million. Well, I'm sorry, 400,000, 300, 400,000. You could just forget it. Because chances are, even if there is a dude who's making that kind of money, unless you're a woman who's below like 25, you ain't getting that. I mean, take a look at Leonardo DiCaprio. What is it? I think Leo cut you off at about 20, if I'm not mistaken. So I know Leo makes that kind of money, but chances are guys ain't talking to you if you're anything older than about 20. Because as far as they're concerned, the next, how should I say, non-negotiable is your age. So there's some women who may click on their profile, oh yeah, well, I want older men. But most men do not want older women, and that's just a fact, and they can cry about it on The View, and I don't give a shit. But the bottom line is, most men are going to click, yeah, I want a woman who's like no older than about 25 or 26. Quick story. In China, Japan, and South Korea, if you're older than about, if you're older than 27, a lot of the men there refuse to date you. They refuse to date you altogether simply because you're older than 27. As soon as you hit 27, it's like, no, thank you. No. And they refer to the women in China, they refer to them as Sheng Yu. And the Sheng Yu, that means leftover woman, right? Now, in Korea, South Korea specifically, they have a movement called the 4B movement. I discussed it in the last video that I made that was, talking about relationships. And in that 4B movement, they basically say, okay, no sex no relationships, no children, no marriage. It's a feminist movement basically designed to tell these men that they're not going to give them traditional marriage. Now, that's in South Korea, right? But the South Korean men have already made their choice. They're like, they don't want those women once they're past a certain age. They also don't want women who are involved in social media. They also don't want women who work long hours, like professional women. They don't want those. So most of those dudes, they want a live-in housewife, and they make enough money where they can keep their woman working at home. Now, the Japanese, oh man, those Japanese, they're brutal. If you are older than 27, the Japanese actually refer to these women, they refer to them as Christmas cake. Now, the reason for that is because after World War II, it was very difficult to get sugar. So therefore, having, sweets was difficult to do. So during Christmas, they would actually celebrate by giving people gifts of cake. We do the same thing with like fruit cake, rum cake. We do the same thing. We give people gifts of cake. But the problem is in Japan, what happens if everybody is giving you cake and now you have too many cakes and you can't eat all that cake? So what you end up with is leftover cake, right? So the Japanese men refer to the women who are older than 27 as leftover women. And in this case, they call them leftover cake. So the other way of saying that is to call them Christmas cakes. Now, if you ask a Japanese man, why don't you just date a woman who's older than 27? I mean, what's wrong with you? The Japanese women who are over 27, they can easily get a white man from another country. They can easily get a black man from another country. And that's happening a lot. South Korean women are more and more dating and marrying black men because they can't get with their own men because of the 4B movement and because their men don't want them. But if you ask a Japanese guy, he'd be like, well, wait a minute. You don't care that your women are going and marrying white guys or black guys or even Hispanic guys, and you could just as easily just marry them. They're right there. You're right there with them. Why don't you just marry one of these leftover women? Why don't you marry one of these Christmas cakes? Japanese man, he's going to look right in your eyes. He's going to get extremely angry immediately. He's going to act as if you stole something from him. And his eyes are just gonna squint and narrow, and he's just gonna get very, very angry, and he's gonna say, "No, what the Christmas kicker? No, what the Christmas kicker?" So don't ever ask a Japanese man if he would like to date a Christmas kid. Just don't do it. Okay, because age is a big problem when it comes to dating and marriage in Japan. So don't do it. Don't do it. So this woman, April Williams. So obviously she's short, she's kind of heavy, and she's a BBW basically. I don't know if that's all her hair. I mean, if that is all her hair, that might help. But some of these women have said, that there's a lid for every pot. So chances are there's a guy out there who would love April right here. But April, it says April Williams opened a Tinder account in 2013 and began wondering about the algorithms used by dating apps, how they selected potential matches, and what role race may play in the system. Well, I'll tell you right now, as a black male, if I get on to one of these stupid dating apps, right? If I click that I am a black male, which is exactly what I'm going to do, because first of all, there's no point in lying, because if you meet somebody, the first thing that's going to happen is you're going to try to go out on a date, and if you actually meet them in real life, they're going to find out you're lying immediately. You can't lie about your height. Now, fortunately, I don't have to lie about my height. You could lie about your income, but I don't even have to lie about my income. It's something I can actually brag about. I mean, the mere fact that I come to the date and I'm driving an electric Cadillac that like virtually not too many other people have, with the exception of a couple of limo companies and, a handful of people because they chose the XT6 and the XT5 instead. I pull up in a brand new electric Cadillac. They're going to know right away how much money I'm making, or they're going to suspect. So I don't even have to really lie about that. Now, as far as your education, yeah, you pretty much can't lie about that either because they're gonna ask. They'll be like, "Oh, well, where'd you graduate? Like, what high school you graduate from? What college you graduate from? Do you have grad school? Blah blah blah." Some of these women do want educated men. As far as I've seen on these dating sites, as far as I've seen, they don't ask personal things like your penis size or they don't ask women what your body count is because those are two main things that people are going to lie about. If you ask a woman like how many men have you dated, she's going to lie. Anything for most men, anything beyond like one or two guys is a problem. So when these women openly, are proud to admit, yeah, I've dated like 30, 40 guys, that's an immediate turnoff. So most guys are going to be like, no, no, thanks. As far as, men will probably lie about their penis size. But then again, that's not something you can really lie about because when she actually gets with you, she's going to find out, if if you take it to, step 2 or level 2 or whatever, she's going to find out and she's going to be like, wait a minute, you're not 6 inches or you're not 7 inches or you're not 8 inches or whatever it is. Now, there are, again, plenty of men are openly proud to proclaim how big they are. But here's the problem. There's a lot of women out there who suffer from having small, how should I say, there's a word that means you have a small vagina. I'm not really sure what that word is off the top of my head. I know there's a word for that. There's some women who may click on their profile, I don't want a man who's like 12 inches long. There are some because, they don't want to be in pain and everything. And they don't want to be chased around the house. They're running from this dude with this gigantic javelin stick. So you got to understand, for every pot, there's a lid. So the bottom line is, it's like these dating sites are good because they are highly efficient at helping you find the right person who checks all the boxes. Now, personally, I think that this flies in the face of natural selection and Darwinism because sexual activity and encounters are more based on chance in nature. But with humans, this dating app, digital culture, it makes it so efficient that it can hook up people from anywhere in the world together, possibly. And normally people who never would have procreated have a chance to procreate. Now, that's probably a good thing. You don't have to reproduce to live, but it allows people who otherwise wouldn't have met to meet. It allows older men who normally wouldn't have met a younger woman from 6,000 or 7,000 miles away to meet her. That is advantageous to her as much as it is to him. So I think these dating apps are a good thing. My only problem... I just have a problem with using computers to trick people. If you're going to match people up, make sure that you're doing it legitimately. After nearly 10 years of research, the Black sociologist who studies race, gender, and popular culture has written a book about her findings. Not My Type, Automating Sexual Racism in Online Dating. A blend of technical analysis, user interviews, and a historical look at racism and romance in America. Williams, a faculty associate at the Berkman Klein Center, sat down Tuesday afternoon to discuss the prevalence of sexual racism in online dating with Kendra Albert of Harvard's Cyber Law Clinic. Williams said her academic curiosity was sparked by a presentation at a 2015 annual conference for sociologists by Christian Rudder, co-founder of OkCupid, on his site's sorting and matching algorithms. Someone in the audience asked why they were getting so many unattractive people in their match deck, said Williams, who is also an assistant professor in the Department of Communication and Media and Digital Studies Institute at the University of Michigan. Rudder joked, "If you think your matches are ugly, that's probably because you're ugly." Exactly! But see, this is the problem. Nobody tells the goddamn truth anymore. You know what bothers me? I'm sick and tired of seeing these second-rate hack comedians like Bill Maher, who, if you watch one of his stand-ups, it's as boring as shit. And in order for this dude to make his money, he has to talk about politics. Now, what that does is two things. It allows him to actually be able to pretend to be a real comedian, but it also forces or allows people to get their news. When you're supposed to get news, it's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be informative. But what you're doing is you're using comedy in order to deliver news. Is it effective? Yes, it is effective. But the problem is there's too much fake news that gets pushed in there, and there's too much innuendo, and there's too many lies, rumors, and conjecture that get pushed that way. Unfortunately, we're living in a society where you're not even allowed to tell the truth. Now, does this person necessarily mean that, is he calling you ugly? No, he's not calling you ugly. He's saying that your preferences are going to get something that reflects you. Like, for example, if I did go on one of these stupid ass dating sites, right? I'm going to put all of my personals in there. Any of these women out there who might be looking for a guy exactly like me, they're going to put in my personals in their checkboxes. They're going to say, yeah, I'm looking for a black guy who's about 6 feet tall, or bigger. And, he makes makes six figures a year and this, that, and other. They're going to be looking based on what they want. And that's just it. That's all it is. It's called discrimination. Discrimination is not a bad thing. Discrimination is not illegal. Now, if you're talking about government jobs and denying people equal opportunity, that's totally different. But when you're talking about personal preference, this is the private sector right here. You're allowed to discriminate in the private sector. There are people who hate the fact that you're allowed to discriminate in the private sector, but the reality is the private sector has the right to discriminate. And even when I say private sector, I'm talking about the individual person. The private sector has a right to discriminate because they want to make sure that they are reaching their audience. Now, if the private sector says, you know what, we're not making that much money because we keep hiring people who are not connecting with the audience, and this area has changed, and this demographic and population has changed, and we need to go after that demographic, or we need to, like, for example, let me just say this, and you won't believe this shit, but this is a true story. I got a job back in 2004, the end of 2004. I was working at Best Buy in Rego Park. I hate fucking Best Buy. I just gotta say that. I had come from Circuit City. I may have told this story before. I worked in Circuit City in 2003, and as you know, Circuit City ended up going out of business. Their stock value decreased, and they ended up going out of business. So when I left Circuit City, I went to work at Best Buy. This was when I was a college student, right? I had spent time living in Shanghai, China. I had learned Mandarin before I left to go live in China. So I started learning Mandarin here in America. Then I went over to China and I lived there for a while. And when I came back here to America, I still had Mandarin fluency. I was able to put on my resume, I speak Mandarin Chinese. So that area, Rego Park, because the Best Buy was store 483 in Rego Park. You can actually look it up. I know a lot of that shit off the top of my head. I was in the computer and camera department. They stuck me in cameras. I didn't want to be in cameras, but when I did the computer evaluation or whatever, they said, no, we need you to sell cameras. I didn't want to be in cameras. I wanted to be in computers. So anyway, they stuck me in cameras. Turned out that I was doing a really good job because here's the thing about Chinese people. First of all, the Chinese people in that area weren't strong English speakers, right? Now, they had trouble hiring Chinese people to come in and work to communicate with the Chinese people there. So the Chinese that would come in, they would come in with wads of cash and they would buy exactly what they want. They would buy a digital camera. They'd buy exactly what they wanted. And that would be it. And they wouldn't buy anything else. Now, Best Buy's model is to sell you as much shit on top of a purchase as they possibly can. If you buy an Xbox One, they expect to sell you 2 controllers or more. They expect to sell you a game with it, maybe even 2 games. They want to sell you the adapter for your monitor. They want to sell you a travel case in case you want to take. Bottom line is that $500 Xbox, you get to the counter and all of a sudden it's $700 or $800, and you're trying to figure out, wait a minute, what is all this shit you're selling me? Now I might need this controller, but I don't need all this other stuff. The biggest way Best Buy was making their money was by selling warranties. I was one of the only people who was able to sell those warranties, especially to the Chinese, because they refused to buy those warranties. But I would talk to them in Mandarin. I'd be like, listen, if this thing breaks, we can fix it, blah, blah, blah. And they would actually spend a little bit extra and buy the warranty. And most of the time that I would pitch the warranty to them, they would buy it. My managers would come back there. They'd be looking at their spreadsheets and be like, hey, are you back here? You the one posting these numbers? I was like, yeah, I'm posting these numbers. That's right. Be like, yeah, man, that's a great job. Great job. I'm getting handshakes and shit. I got general managers coming up and seeing me. I was always a salesperson. I love selling shit. That's my bottom line. If I could quit working right now and I had to get a job later because I'd be bored, I'd be a salesperson. I'd be selling cars, or I'd be selling computers, or I'd be selling something. I just like selling shit. It's like I memorize all the details of something and then I just sell it. If I wanted to, that's what I'd be doing. Bottom line is this. When you have people who you need to connect with, you have to hire people to connect with those people. You have to imagine that a gigantic black dude selling cameras and computers at Best Buy to Chinese people speaking Chinese Mandarin, that's not something you're going to find very easily. Now, there's plenty of Africans who go to China and they learn Chinese, and some of them are as my size. Most of them aren't because they're smaller. But I knew African dudes who'd go to these other countries. They'd learn the languages over in those other countries, and these guys would be super fluent in these other languages. They even know all the dialogues. And those guys, man, you could get those guys. They could sell the moon. Like if Mercedes had access to those people could sell anything. Like they know the language. And they know all the dialects too. So by the way, most of these dealerships, they keep like at least one black guy around. See, it's funny because people be complaining about racism. When I go to get a job, most of the time I get hired. Like I'm a gigantic black dude, but I have enough background education where I can go to one of these job interviews and say, you know what? If you hire me, I can code switch, because obviously during my interview, you're going to think I'm a white person over the phone. When a black guy comes in, I can code switch immediately. Hey, what up? Yo, bro. Yo, oh, you looking for this Hellcat? Yeah, I'm going to sell you this Hellcat. Yo, that motherfucker right there got 797 horsepower. You going to burn up the block. They always keep at least one of us around to code switch. Same, you know what? I don't know if you ever watched Star Trek. You remember Uhura? Uhura, when did they have Uhura on the ship? Now, we never saw Uhura get to be a captain or an admiral, even though I think in the novels, eventually she became an admiral, I think. But when did they put Uhura? They put Uhura on the phone. Basically, Uhura is sitting at the communications. She's the communications officer, right? They put her on the phone. Why? Because she could code switch. She spoke like Klingon, Romulan, all that. But when it came down to it, she could speak Jive and she could speak whatever else you asked her to speak because she knew like all the languages. She was brilliant for languages, right? Now think about real life. You go into these dentist offices. It could be the whitest area you ever seen. Who do they got working at that desk? It's either the Latina code switcher or it's the black code switcher. That's that's Uhura. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at the communications officer of the day. Is that discriminatory? Well, yeah. But the bottom line is they need you. They need you because you're going to be their first line of defense because you're sitting there in the front of the place. And then you have the ability to communicate with these people. So the reality is you actually have a better chance of getting most of these jobs than if you don't apply because you're worried about applying. Why am I saying that? If you put your real details out there and you show the people what your skills are and what you're capable of and what your potential is and blah, 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 chances are you're going to get hits. Chances are. Now, I'm not worried about it because as soon as I click, oh, yeah, you 6 feet tall, you got the 6-figure salary, and you got more than 6-inch penis, automatically you're going to get some hits. Now, they may look at your picture and, men don't see the same thing women see, but they may look at your picture and be like, yeah, I don't like the way his face looks, so I'm swiping left or right. I really don't know how that shit works. But the bottom line is somebody out there is looking for you. Somebody. I mean, we're living in the highest inflation that we've seen in a generation. We're living in the worst mortgage and rent stability. Right now, there's women out there hurting. Right now, there's a chick out there who's thinking to herself, how am I going to pay my rent this month? I don't have a man. I may have to take pictures of my feet and put them on OnlyFans. Right now, there's chicks out there who are looking for men. That's why these dating sites are blowing up. But here's the problem. The problem is that old April right here, she got on them dating sites and she ain't getting no hits. So what does April say? It's racist. Immediately, it must be racist. Now, if I got on there, now I'm a big dark black guy. If I get on there, I'm going to get hits. I'm going to get hits all the way to the Philippines. I'm going to get hits all the way to Thailand and Cambodia and Vietnam and China and South Korea. And then we're going to take over Japan and we're going to take back the booty house. Yeah! But April's not getting none. Why? Because she's not me. So next thing you know, it won't even be sexism and racism that they're blaming. They'll blame something else. But the problem is you can't keep putting blame on other people. And that's my problem with these goddamn comedians and these shows like The View. They want to write off everything and they want to write it off as quickly as they can. Nah, it's more complex than that. If these people aren't looking for you on these dating sites, it's because they don't want you. They don't want what you are. I'm okay with that. If you don't like me, that's fine. I ain't got no problem with that. I'll get somebody else. There's a lid for every pot. I ain't worried about it. Oh, April though, just like in this clip that I put in this video, this whole video about these women who are angry that they're in their 30s, they in their 40s, they Christmas cakes, and the guys don't want them. Well, guess what? Most of these men, it takes them until their 30s or their 40s to achieve success. It takes them that long. I didn't buy my first house until I was over 30 years old. It takes them a while to start making money. It takes them a while to achieve success. But guess what? The primary goal of having a relationship for a man is to have a family, just like they said in that video that I posted. So guess what? If you a certain age and you can't give him that, he don't want you. If a guy turns 50 and it took him until 50 to start making his $300,000, do you think he's going to go on a dating site and on the age of the women he's looking for, you think he's going to put, yeah, I'm looking for a chick who's 50 to 55 years old? No, hell no. He's going to put, oh yeah, I want me, a chick who's between 20, maybe about 27 and maybe about 35. He ain't looking for no old-ass woman. Now, a lot of these women who are so egotistical, they think, oh, yeah, well, I have a PhD, so I got it going on. I got you. Go, girl. You are stunning and you are brave. Guess what? The guys ain't looking for that shit. I'm sorry. I don't know any dude, with the exception of some Harvard professor somewhere, and even probably not even him. I don't know any dude who's going on a dating site like, yeah, where all the PhDs at. That doesn't happen. They're looking for hot. What is Michael Jackson's song, Pretty Young Thing? That's what he's looking for. That's what they're looking for. Pretty young thing. All you got to do is be beautiful, sexy. You have to have real hair. Because I swear to God, if they had a button on these apps, because they have the tattoo button that says, do you want a chick with tattoos or not? As soon as you click no tattoos, a lot of them get eliminated immediately. A lot of them get eliminated. Now, what about a real hair app? Like the real hair button. You go on the app, you click real hair, and the thing says real hair. If I click real hair, and if it says all your hair is real, you're not wearing a goddamn wig, a lot of you get eliminated. What about if I say I don't want no BBL? Have you ever seen these women with these BBLs? It looks like they're wearing a diaper, and the diaper's full of doo-doo. What if I click, no BBLs, no plastic surgery? A lot of them get eliminated. Guess what? That ain't racism. That's discrimination, absolutely, but that's not racism. That's no different than if you're a guy who's not 6 feet tall, because it's a goddamn shame. That height supremacy, I said, don't worry about white supremacy. Worry about height supremacy. If you go on these dating apps, and it gives you the option. It says, are you 5'10", 5'11", or 5'12"? And then it says 6. And you make the mistake of or 5'12", my fault. If you put 5'11" instead of putting 6, you're going to have to lie. I'm sorry. If you're 5'11", you remember Full Metal Jacket? He said, are you trying to squeeze a couple of inches? You're going to have to click 6. You're going to have to lie, and you're going to have to lie another inch. You know what that means? It means you might have to start wearing Timberland boots, because Timberland boots have that thick heel. It means that you might have to start wearing clogs like you're a Dutch German guy, or whatever it is. You're going to have to wear them steel-toe boots in order to sneak that extra inch in there. Maybe the chicks will notice, maybe they won't. But the bottom line, like if you're 5'11", you probably might be able to squeeze yourself in. But if you one of these dudes like Big Ed from 90 Day Fiance and you're like 5'7" and you try to lie and say you 6'9", it ain't gonna work. They're gonna see that immediately, because it's like, women aren't the greatest mathematicians in the world, but that trigonometry where you got that sine, cosine, and tangent angle, they can see that from that guy, he ain't 6 feet tall, because if he was 6 feet tall and I'm standing this far away from him, I wouldn't be able to see over his head. That trigonometry is some real shit. I remember I did really well in that when I was like in math class. But these women, they ain't that great at math, but some of them know that trigonometry. They know it. They know if they stand 10 feet from you and they can see over your head, there's a problem. They'd be like, wait a minute, this guy ain't no 6 feet tall. You lying ass liar. And then they leave. So, what is April saying here? I get off on a tangent. What dating apps do is automate sexual racism, making it hyper-efficient and routine to swipe in racial curated sexual marketplace. What? Anyway, dating sites, Williams said, use algorithms that attempt to predict attraction and attractiveness, and the sorting and ranking is often racially informed. Here, let me basically say it like this. If you're a black woman and you click that you are black and you are a woman, you're automatically going to the bottom of that algorithm poll, whatever they call it. The only dudes who are mostly looking for you are black men who want a black woman. The problem with these dating apps for these black women is that they allow black men to say, no, I'm looking for an Asian woman, or I'm looking for a Latina, or I'm looking for a white woman, or I'm looking for a Ukrainian woman, or something like that. And once you click that button, oh no, you get eliminated. It's just that simple. Dating apps allow sexual racism to flourish because they rely on the white heteronormative standards of attraction, desirability, and gender aesthetics to perform the sorting and matching algorithms that we were so comfortable with these days, said Williams. But sexual racism existed long before dating platforms came to be. What dating apps do is automate sexual racism, making it hyper efficient and routine to swipe in racially curated. This is why I hate academia. When I got both of my master's degrees, I was top of the class and I got straight A's. I could easily show my transcript. I sat through those classes listening to this bullshit, and I had to keep my mouth shut because otherwise I would say something that pissed the professor off. And I did at one point say something that I was like, I can see the professor's not happy with what I'm saying. Because you can imagine the kind of shit that I would say if I was sitting in a classroom. But the thing about it is, men, especially heterosexual, how should I say, conservative men, when you sit in one of these liberal arts bullshit ass classrooms, you're sitting there paying $450 a credit. My first master's degree was free because I had a scholarship. My second master's degree cost me $18,000. And that's only because I didn't listen to my parents and go to a private school. I went to Queens College, a CUNY school, because I was like, I'm not going to pay $40,000 in student loan debt. I would rather pay out of pocket, and it'll cost me $18,000 to $20,000. I'll pay. The hardest part for me was getting a park. I can write very well. I used to have a lot of stamina in writing. I used to be able to turn out 20, 30 pages easily when I would just do consumer reviews. You wouldn't believe how much I could write. I write like I talk. I can talk a very long time about a subject. And then when you start pulling in all the information, the data and everything, it just makes what I write longer. So when a professor would say, yeah, you need to have at least 10 pages about something, I'd be like, 10 pages, is that it? Ha ha, here's 15, lady. But bottom line is, you have to sit there and listen to this bullshit. It really bothers me. And the reality is, you were going to get eliminated anyway. Because as soon as that guy clicks, I would like my woman, the ideal woman, I want her to be athletic. You're getting eliminated for that alone because you're BBW. As soon as he clicks no tattoos, a lot of you are getting eliminated immediately. But y'all thought it was cute to go out there and get them tramp stamps all up on your ass. Y'all thought all up on the back of your ass, all up on the back of your foot, all up on your feet. You got tramp stamps. Some guys don't want that. A lot of guys don't want that. What was the other thing? Real hair. I'm going to keep talking about real hair because women hate it when you talk about real hair. Well, no. Some women hate it when you talk about real hair. I'll tell you like this. I like Asian women. I think that's obvious. I date Asian women. If you've seen some of my travel videos, you see me with an Asian woman. The hair is brand new. The hair is real. It's all grown right out their scalp. Like, hey, you see these things right here? These are called follicles. These actually grow hair. Like these Asian women, they cut their hair and then sell it to the women overseas. It's crazy. I'm like, wait a minute. I've got follicles. I can grow. I've grown my hair. You'll never see the photo of me because I don't know where it is. But I actually grew my hair once and I had braids. And I was like, wait a minute. Do you know how difficult it is to maintain this shit? And my hair is always tight and it's itchy. I was like, I'm going to cut all of this shit off and I'm going to keep getting a regular a fade. I'm not doing this braid shit no more. But you have the ability to grow your own hair, but most of these women refuse to grow their own hair or they cut their hair and it's not aesthetically pleasing. It's like you got to have decent, like men are not mostly going to turn down long hair. If men see chicks with long hair is literally a sign biologically of fertility. Like it literally tells a man, oh, okay, her pores are working. So that's good. I like long hair. And that's just biological. It's like you're not getting around that. First thing I noticed that these feminists do is they cut their freaking hair. Or they got the Karen hairstyle where the hair is asymmetrical and it's hanging off one side of the head. I'm like, ugh. Oh, that she looked like a damn feminist. No, thank you. You're getting eliminated. All of this shit that you're doing is getting you eliminated. All of the stuff that you are is getting you eliminated, even among the groups that are like you. They don't want you. That's not racism. That's discrimination. But these are the same women who be on Facebook and they be on Instagram and they be on TikTok talking about all their options. Oh yeah, I got men up in my DMs. Oh yeah, I'm sure they are up in your DMs. I'm sure they're looking for easy sex. Are they looking to put a ring on your finger? Chances are the answer is no. And Kevin Samuels, he was one of the people who had to bring that out because how else was it going to be? You know, Kevin Samuels never got invited to The View. Wonder why? Because he would have been on there. He would have probably had a fist fight with one of them, especially Whoopi Goldberg. I have just watched this episode. Now, obviously, the clip that I'm using isn't completely real, obviously. But I actually watched that episode. You could go look it up about these women looking for Wall Street finance guys, right? And Whoopi, oh, well, if I just want to be alone, I don't need anybody. I just want to be alone and alone. And I'm like, are women really stupid enough to take advice from you? You've already shown what you are. Basically, you got to your age and you got nobody. Do these women, I have to ask the logical question, do these women want to get to your age and have nobody? Because you know, it's amazing. You hear all these women bragging about how much money they make, and you hear them bragging about how many houses they're buying. What you don't hear is the number of layoffs. You don't hear about the number of foreclosures. What you also don't hear about is who do those women pay to do maintenance on their property? Have you ever sat back and watched a woman try to mow the lawn? It's like the most ridiculous thing ever. Like, there's a reason why you have groups of men who drive around mowing lawns and doing landscape. There's a reason why. Have you ever, just tell me, have you ever seen a group of women going around mowing lawns and doing landscape? I have never seen it in my life, ever. Yes, there are some female gardeners who go around and they just position shit like Rachel Ray. Like oh yes, these begonias, they go here, the petunias go here. Yeah, but I've never seen one of them pushing a lawnmower. You might even hear it behind me. There's somebody out there doing the lawn right now. You might hear it. You hear that buzzsaw thing, the chainsaw? I never seen no women doing no shit like that. What you don't hear about is these women getting these houses and then they can't afford to keep them because they have to spend so much money maintaining them. Who are they going to get to maintain them? Well, they're on the apps looking for you. The problem is you're swiping left or right. I don't know how it works. I think you swipe right to say I don't like the person or something. They're looking for you to come and maintain their shit. But here's the kicker. And here's the thing that they don't want to understand. Men, real men, do not want to move into a woman's house. I'll be goddamned if I'll ever have a like I saw that, what was that movie? Waiting to Exhale, where Angela Bassett gets pissed off and she's like, yeah, take your shit and get the fuck out. I'll be goddamned if I ever no, this is my house. And this got my name on it. You see that ceiling fan up there? That's mine. Nobody tells me to leave nothing. Real men ain't moving into your house. Real men got their own house. But what's funny is most of these women who are looking for real men know that the man got their own house and they try to move in with them. But see, it's only when the women give up that they go out and buy their own. And once they go out and buy their own, then they're absolutely off the mark because the real men don't want them. Now, there are some exceptions to that. Maybe they have an apartment and maybe it's just an apartment that they own and maybe they can rent the apartment and move in with the guy or whatever. Real men ain't moving into your place. Now, you can call it sexism, you can call it whatever you want. We don't give a shit. You could, and I think we need to, as a society, we need to get back to the point where people aren't scared or aren't self-conscious to simply say, yeah, I don't give a shit. George Carlin said, yeah, we should just be able to say, yeah, I don't give a shit. But nobody really, remembers George Carlin, especially this day and age. But that man was brilliant. He's like, why can't we be at a point where we just say, yeah, I just don't care? You can feel however you want to feel about it. Real men ain't moving into your house. I know women. I know. I can't call them young anymore. They're like in their 30s. They're the Christmas kicker. They have their own houses, and they're lonely and single because the men ain't moving in there. Now the men may come in there and do the wham bam thank you ma'am, but they ain't moving in. Mostly because your place is stuffed with shit, and you've got all of this stuff since you were a child. You got Barbie dolls, you got all this furniture and stuff, extra furniture. Your house is packed up, and you look like a hoarder. Most of these men, they ain't moving into that. They're not moving into that. And then they just don't want that. So you're going to call it racism when they swipe left and they say, yeah, I don't want that? It's like, whatever. So it says, this is anti-blackness and anti-Asian. No. Do not include Asians in this. Because when I get on a dating app, the first thing I click is, yeah, I like some Asians. I like Asians who are like 5'9", 5'10" Asians. Don't put these Asians. No. See, this is what people try to do. They try to pull in other people in order to make their case for them. Like, no. Let me tell you something. Maria, Mei Ling, and Jamila, they ain't got no trouble getting men. They getting their men. If they want a man, they getting them. All them 4B movement Korean women, they dating brothers now. They dating black men. They refuse to date the Korean guys. They getting black men. There's Chinese women who refuse to get the Chinese guy. They get black men. And they've always traditionally gotten white men, but now they get black men. There's Filipinas dating black men. We're all over the Passport Bros sites. You see it every day. Or Colombia. You go to Colombia. You go to Bolivia. You go to Bogota. Nicaragua. They get they men. They get black men. There's only 22 million of us in America, black men. But these other countries, they got millions upon millions of single women. Asia alone got over 1 billion single women. The numbers are in our favor. Don't try to sucker them in. Don't try to bring them in on this. They ain't got nothing to do with this. Don't even try it. See, this is the reason why, I can't do that classroom thing. If I was in there trying to get a PhD right now, I would start some shit and they'd probably expel me because I wouldn't be able to just be quiet. I couldn't do it because I know you're full of shit. I'm not going to just sit here and let you say that bullshit. I know it's a lie. So anyway, they tend to become targets of racism or objects of fetishization. If they're desirable, it's because of their otherness. Yeah, they're not like you. That's right. That's exactly right. Maybe I like women who eat with chopsticks. Maybe I don't want a chick sitting in front of me stuffing her face with crab legs on my dime. Maybe I want a nice, quiet, demure. I took this Chinese girl out, and I took her to, what was it? I took her to Junior's Cheesecake. It's called Junior's Cheesecake, not Cheesecake Factory. And she ordered, what did she order? She ordered the fish or something. She ordered the fried fish meal. Man, she was just nice to be around. She was just nice to. Maybe I just like something different. Maybe I'm so disgusted with American culture that I don't want anything that looks or resembles American culture. It may not have anything to do with race, but that's the whole point of a dating app. You pick what you want. You could be a Norwegian man, and you could say, you know what? I hate Norwegian. I don't like these Norwegian women. I want an Eskimo woman. Chances are there's an Eskimo woman somewhere on an app who's like, oh, my life is so difficult being an Eskimo woman. I wish I had a nice, strong Norwegian man to take me away. And then next thing you know, you meet her and everybody's happy. And then you go and have some children and this, that, and other. That's probably what it is. I think at this point, a lot of people do not like what they are. I'll just say it like that. I know most Americans are miserable. I'll just say it just like that. Most Americans are miserable. We wouldn't have the passport bros if most of these men weren't miserable being where they are. Think about these Korean men. They got the 4B movement going on over there. How are these Korean men supposed to get wives and have sex and stuff if the women are literally saying, yeah, we're not going to do it? Most of these Korean men, they going down to Myanmar, Burma, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. Same thing with the Chinese men. They going down there and they getting Southeast Asian women. They're like, no, the hell with this shit. I don't want the Christmas kegger. No Christmas kegger. And they going down to Southeast Asia. That's it. I don't know why this is such a problem. Well, except for the women who aren't getting what they want. And when they don't get what they want, yeah, they're loud and vocal about it, but there ain't nothing you can do about it. You can't force a man into a relationship he don't want to be into. Not unless you, get pregnant and he didn't know about it, and then you force him to either pay child support or force him to be with you. But other than that, there's no ball and chain anymore. So anyway, Williams urged dating platforms to do more to improve the experience for minority users. Oh my God. Now, I'm a minority. If I was a user, I wouldn't be having these problems. But I'm not a user and I don't care. It's easier for me to just do it organically and meet people in real life. But you have underlying issues. You remember how during COVID, the word came up that everybody learned comorbidity? Oh no, there's other things about you that are the problem. It's not the dating app. No. It's things about you, dear. So anyway, they should expand their safety protocols. What? For monitoring and reporting bias? Huh? Oh, wait, let me read this whole thing. Williams urged dating platforms to do more to improve the experience for minority users and protect them when they encounter racism, homophobia, transphobia, and ableism. What? So, let's get this straight. That first, she's up there trying to pull in the Asians, right? First, that's what you saw what she was doing. Now she's up there trying to make her case by trying to pull in more people. She's trying to pull in what? Homophobia? If I click that I'm a straight male and I'm specifically interested in women, you ain't got nothing to say about that. Period. If I click that I'm a straight male and I do not want a trans woman or a trans man, you ain't got nothing to say about that. Period. If I am a straight male and I have the ability to walk around, you can't tell me that I should be looking for somebody who may be a paraplegic or a quadplegic. You ain't got nothing to say about that. But this is what they do. They try to pull in all these other people in order to make their case for them. No. They have their own issues. I'm sure that there are gay dating apps. I'm sure that there's trans dating apps. And if there's not, then maybe a trans person needs to say, you know what? I got a great idea. I'm going to make a dating app specifically for trans to go on. And this way, anybody who's interested in trans can go on that dating app. Or, I'm gay, so I'm going to make a gay dating app and gay people can come on my app. I'm sure I don't know anything about these apps because I don't use them, but I'm just saying. It's a money making. It's a business. It's a business. That's all it is. I'm sure there's handicapped people who get together based on their handicaps. Because, first of all, in some cases, most people don't want to date handicapped people because they're going to be accused of taking advantage of those people. What was it? There was a Korean drama show about this autistic Korean lawyer, female woman. I can't remember the name. I think it was like My Name Is Something or something. But anyway, she was defending a client who had slept with a mentally handicapped woman. And the guy was literally put on trial by the woman's parents because they claimed that he assaulted her. There's some people who stay away from handicapped people specifically because of that. Like, for instance, if I'm an ugly dude, maybe I would date a blind woman who doesn't realize I'm so damn ugly. right? That makes sense, right? But then you're going to have her friends are going to be up in her ear and be like, yo, do you realize how ugly this dude is? Or, yo, you don't see that big scar on this guy's forehead? Oh, right, you can't see it. You're blind. This guy looks like the orc from Lord of the Rings who was the leader in the Return of the King. That's how ugly this dude is. But you can't see that because you're blind. And when you touch his face, that's not Braille you're reading. That's acne. I mean, come on. I mean, some people don't want to date handicapped people because they're going to be accused of taking advantage of them. I mean, that's just a simple fact. So anyway, let's get to the rest of this stupid article. So anyway, I would encourage everyone to do it, she said, because when you see the data they have on you, it might make you think twice about the trade-offs. I was able to see my geolocation data. Oh, and that's another thing. Sometimes you live in a place where people automatically don't want to date you. Maybe you live in a ghetto. Maybe you live in an absolute ghetto and it hasn't been gentrified yet. They don't want to date you because of that. Says, people see my geolocation data, all the interest groups that I had linked from my Facebook account, every picture I upload. Once they saw your pictures, it was over. I'm sorry. As soon as I started reading this and I saw your picture, I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? I would never date her because she's absolutely not my type. Now, does that mean that there's not some guy out there who wants a BBW? No, there absolutely are, but I'm not one of them. What is this? Still, dating sites are here to stay, said Williams, because they have become the modern version of traditional matchmaking. People don't meet romantic partners in the grocery store, and that's not true at all. Yes, people still do meet people in the grocery store. So her goal is that I was in the grocery store yesterday, in fact, and there was this chick. I don't know how old she was, but there was this chick in the grocery store. I was at Walmart. And as we're leaving, you know how Walmart, for some reason, they feel it's necessary to check your stuff at the door to make sure you ain't stealing. And they ask for your receipt and everything. Well, I had a shopping cart. I think I had maybe about 15 items or something in the shopping cart. And this chick was, she was about to get on the same line as me. And I said, oh, you know what? You only have like 2 or 3 things. You go right on ahead. So a simple random act of kindness gets a conversation started. So, you know, she started talking to me and she was like, oh, you know, this, that, and other. And I could have gotten her number and I could have talked to her even further. Now, she looked a little bit younger than, you know, I wanted to mess with. So, you know, the bottom line is people do meet in grocery stores. Don't think just because you can't doesn't mean I can't. I'm 6'6". And I got money. And I'm sitting on 24-inch rims on an electric Cadillac. I can meet chicks, okay? I could go and take them on a date to Cheesecake Factory and afford to pay the whole thing myself without having to haggle about that 50-50 bullshit. Okay? Just because you don't doesn't mean I can't. So stop trying to pull us in there and suck us. It's not going to work. So anyway, these systems do often fail us, and it's important to talk about those failures. But it's also important to celebrate work and community that many find in dating culture, she said. And sometimes you find love on the apps, and that's why we're worth fixing. I know people love to hate the apps, but they work. So now all of this bullshit that you just wrote about racism and all this, and now you're saying the apps work, really? Williams said she was speaking from both personal and scholarly perspectives, having met her romantic partner on Tinder in 2021. They are now happily married. So, wait a minute. Hold on. She gets on here to talk all this nonsense, and you actually met your partner on Tinder, and now you're happily married. So, what was the point of this entire article if you're complaining about the app not working because of biases and racism and discrimination, but in the end you met your partner in 2021 and now you're married? Do you see what I'm saying here? By the way, meeting your partner in 2021, which is the height of depression for Americans due to the pandemic. That's not really something to really brag about, but the bottom line is the app still worked. So why are you complaining about it?
To be continued.